This is for you if you're a business owner who's looking for some help to basically improve your business, improve life. And in this particular training course, if you like, I'm going to put together a series of 4 videos, this one and 3 others, because I want to talk to you about what I call the triangle of truth. And the triangle of truth is going to give you the 3 core ingredients, 3 component parts of your business that I know a lot of business owners don't do all 3. Quite often they'll do just one of them, maybe 2 of them. And I know this because I've been working with business owners now since the 1980s. I started my business in 1991. I've been helping thousands of clients over the years, helping them make more money and have an easier life. And I started out, and I still do a little bit of it today, as an accountant, looking after their books and records and statutory accounts and tax returns and the rest of it. And we still do that. I have a team of people that do that. However, my journey into coaching and mentoring has led me to understand that as a business owner who is looking for help, looking for advice, looking for something to trigger something to make things a whole lot better for you, is that we need to break some of this down into the practical steps. And this is something that I talk to my clients about all of the time. And if we can get the triangle of truth understood, what I'm hoping it will do for you is deliver to you some energy. You know, the sort of energy I'm talking about, the sort of energy that says, I'm going to get up in the morning and I've got stuff to do and out the way, I'm coming through because today's going to be a good day, versus the days when it's like dragging your ass around, struggling, not focused on anything, got a list of things to do that you don't want to do, and generally just feeling a bit crap about life in general. What can often happen when I'm talking to clients and they feel a bit negative about the whole world, they don't really know what it's all about. It's a series of things that have accumulated. Often a bit of bad news and something crap. You've lost a client, a job didn't go well, you've run out of money, all those sorts of things that go on. And when they compound, together with the fact that as they compound, it's easy to drink a bit more and stay up a bit later and just generally not look after yourself, even just little stuff like lack of hydration, then you just feel a bit shit. Okay. And what I want to be able to do is help you understand that it's okay to feel like that, but let's not stay there. Equally, what we don't want to do is end up in a place of anxiety where we're so focused on the future that it scares us because we have no clear picture how to get there. And you've got all these anxious thoughts and worries versus the depressive thoughts about why things are going wrong. And so what we're trying to do is bring us to today, get rid of the anxiety and the depression and go, okay, what can we do today? And this will give you a framework for you to say, okay, on the days where I'm all over the place with my thoughts and I want to get focused on stuff, remember that triangle of truth thing that I saw on the video, because that guy gave me some information that I can pull myself back to and go, have I got these 3 things checked? Because if you check these 3 things, which I'm going to share with you in a minute, it will give you some confidence, commitment, and more importantly, certainty about what to do next. It helps us focus. If we've got certainty about what you want to do next, everything else can be forgotten for a minute and just get on and do that thing. Okay, all right? Now, I'm going to share the detail of this as much as I can in this video. But what I will then do is I will record a separate video on each individual component part. And I'll go into even more detail just on those component parts, just so that you can take this information and actually make use of it, really make use of it to help you. That's all my mission is here. I'm going to start over here in this bottom left-hand corner. And I'm going to start off with what I often see as one of the dullest parts of the triangle, but it's also an important part, and I'm going to explain why. And I'm also going to explain why most people think it's dull and what you're missing about it that will change your thoughts about it. And this is your bookkeeping. Bookkeeping and accounts is something that every single business should have. Kind of part of the law, part of, compliance. You have to do that stuff. And as I've been doing this for 35 years, been looking after accounts and tax for 35 years and doing bookkeeping, accounting and tax and all the stuff that goes with it. And from this, we get the statutory stuff that goes off to the Inland Revenue and all the authorities and everything else. But what most business owners fail to realise is that this information that's sitting in their database is really valuable information to help you. And I'll talk to you about my 5-step process in that video. And the 5-step process, number 5, is where you should be as a business owner. Basically saying to your bookkeeping and an accounting system and running some reports off it and saying to yourself, what do these reports mean to me and my business? And how can I use this data to help me improve my business, help me make more money and have an easier life? What clues lie in these reports? And there are a ton of them in there. But sadly, most people pay lip service to this, outsource it somewhere, delegate it somewhere, pay little attention to it, deal with the annual accounts, complain and moan that their tax bill is too high and that their accountant doesn't help them, when in fact actually the data is there to all of the time. It's right under your nose. It's there. You have this data. You just don't know how to interpret it. So this triangle of truth will probably make you realize the bit that you're missing, because the second component part of this, and again, I would say in my career, I've literally helped thousands of business owners. 35 plus years I've been doing this, thousands and thousands of different types of business owners, mainly couples in business, mainly smaller businesses from that perspective, rather than the big corporates. But I've also seen this in the big corporates, etc., is that very few do a budget and a plan. Okay, a budget and have some proper targets. And all that is really is a bunch of reports that say, this is what we think the future is going to look like. This set of reports that comes out of your budget and forecast and targets is by definition the same set of reports that come out of your accounting system. Sometimes they're the same system. Sometimes they're actually designed in the same system. But I know for a fact that when we try and do budgeting inside the accounting system, it's hard. It's difficult to make the software work and all the rest of it, because the software is designed to do bookkeeping and accounting. It's not really designed to do forecasting. It's got a place for it. Some software has. But what we're aiming to do is we're aiming to basically say to ourselves, look, here is a timeline. Okay, this is the past information, this is today, and this is the future information. And all we're trying to do is we're trying to establish that journey that we're on by looking back in the past and saying, well, this is what we did last week, last month, last quarter, last year. That's data. And logically, if we keep doing the same thing, your budget and target will probably be the same in the future. And I guess that's why a lot of people don't do a report for their budget and forecast, because you've just spent the last year working your arse off and you know that you need to do a bit more. You know that you need to kind of increase your profits. You need to get some more sales. You're going to do the same thing you've always done. You know, whatever trade you're in, if you're an architect, you're going to draw pictures of buildings. If you're a designer, you're going to design things and draw things and create things. If you're an artist, you're going to continually create things. If you're a builder, you're going to continue build things. A plumber's going to continue to do plumbing. All of us do our trade and continually do the same thing. We're going to get better at it. So we don't do a budget and forecast because we just think in our head, well, I'm going to take everything I did before and do more of it or better at it, or just see if I can get an improvement. And it kind of works. The caveat between all this, or the contrast between all this, is that I've also seen lots and lots of business owners who've been in business for years and made a pretty good living and done all right for their family and never really paid any attention to their budgets and forecasts or their bookkeeping or accounts. They've just got a trade and they found customers and they've serviced those customers and they've looked after those customers and they've done it for years. Are they right? Are they wrong? No, they're absolutely right in doing what they're doing. But here's the thing. Everybody I have ever spoken to in business who is struggling, and this is the bit, if you are struggling, if you've lacking certainty about what you want to do next. Okay, this gives you some certainty. Okay, so your certainty sits down here because it says, look, I know what we did last year, and I'm now planning very specifically what to do next year and the year after. And that certainty gives you a target. And what you end up with is, and the goal for me is to end up with a series of simple numbers as a target. Obviously a sales target, but also a profit target. Now that might require other bits of ingredients. So you might have a cost of sales or a percentage, or you might have some overheads or some wages as specifics. They're the big chunky things that you spend most of your time thinking about it. But if you think about it, if we knew what our sales were and we knew what our costs were, then we know what our profit is, because sales minus costs equals profit. That's all we want to do. We want to see that as a single item. Now, a single item might be, this is my sales target for the next year, next financial year, or the next 12 months. It might be a rolling figure. It's the big picture that I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for 1 million. I'm aiming for 10 million. I'm aiming for whatever the number is, that's what I'm aiming for. But then you can take that number and very quickly chunk it down into, this is my target for the quarter, the month, the week, today. Okay. I've even worked with people who have had a target that they've got to hit by lunchtime. Okay. So if you're on telesales and you're making calls and stuff, we've got to make so many calls per day. Therefore, by 12 o'clock, we want to be well on the way to hitting target, which is the number of calls we make. Okay, so we're looking for that target figure, and that target figure should relate back to your budget and forecast. Okay, which should relate back to your past efforts. So your past efforts, okay, aren't suddenly going to go doom, 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 and up and then along like that, unless something very specific happens in the next 24 hours for your sales and profits to suddenly skyrocket. It can happen if you've had a particular campaign that you've worked on here, but generally speaking, most businesses, okay, bob along up and down and hopefully have a curve going upwards, if nothing to keep up with inflation. But we want an upward trend, and this upward trend for a period of time has a set of numbers on it. Well, those numbers form part of your budget and forecast. So the more you can forecast, the longer period you can, the more you can project going forward, the more you can sort of look to the future and go, well, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. If you're running a business and you're currently turning over 100,000 a year and you want to turn over 1 million, you've basically got to 10 times your results. So what can you do 10 times more? Well, when you start laying that out on a piece of paper, on a spreadsheet, on a forecasting tool, doesn't really matter at this stage. When you start laying out your future, and realizing that I've got to go from a turnover here of, around about £10,000 a month to around about 80 to £100,000 a month, that's quite a jump, unless you know exactly how you're going to do that. If you know that your product and service is going to increase its sales price by 10 times, and you're going to sell the same amount, well, you can see how that will happen. But the reality is that the marketplace might react, and it might take 1, 2, 3, 4 months for that to ramp up. It might also be that you've decided that and it's the 25th of the month. You might not hit target by the end of this month. You've got a few days left. And then next month you might only hit half target. Do you see what I mean? So you start breaking it down into reality. And then you throw in all the other ingredients of life. Christmas, holidays, summer, winter, all the things that might affect your trade as you start mapping out the future. And that's all we're trying to do, is we're trying to look back at the past and see if we can map out the future to give ourselves a target. And ultimately, the target you really want to be aiming for, more than any other number on any of these things, it's the same figure that's over here. It's called a profit. And it's the same figure over here. It's the profit figure that we're looking for. We want to know that we're profitable, because I have seen way too often people setting themselves a sales target, going all in on sales. Sometimes people will focus so much on their sales target that they forget about profitability. And I have seen, looking at historical accounts, when they come to me and they go, here's my accounts, I go, hey, sales are right up, brilliant. Well, it's looking good. Oh, profit is lower than last year. You've done more work, more sales, but you made less money than last year. Or the subtle one, you did more sales and made more profit. But in reality, the profit only went up a little bit, whereas the sales went up a huge amount. Now, on paper, those figures, those numbers, are going to hide the truth. And this is why the triangle of truth is here. Because the numbers may look better on paper. You might have more sales, you might have more profit, and you can justify any which way that it looks better. What your accounting system and your budget will not identify, unless you bring this into your thought process as you do this, is what it does to you as the business owner. How is it affecting your energy, not just the energy to get up in the morning today, but your energy and zest for the future of your business? If you want to run your business for the next 5, 10, 20 years, okay, trust me, you want to be excited about it. I've been self-employed for a long, long time, and I'm still excited most of the time about my business and the future and the endless possibilities that we have. Some days I'm not, I'm a human being, and some days it just isn't happening, okay? But in amongst it, we want to make sure that the balance of the numeric value of making the money to achieve your goals, because that's where your personal goals come from, your profit, the house you live in, the cars you drive, the holidays you go on, the school fees, the children, fun, the entertainment, all the things that make you happy or contribute to a happy life, okay, are going to come from the profit of your business. Now, I appreciate that we can also be happy without money, but this video is specifically for business owners and we're talking about profit, okay? But all the things that contribute to a happy life, the material things that you're running your business for to make that money, okay, are going to come from that profit figure. And something that I worked on for many years is that I wanted my profit to increase, but I wanted my work input, the way that I conducted my life, to decrease. I didn't want to be working 40, 50, 80, 100-hour weeks for the rest of my life. Okay, I realized that a long time ago, and I'm very fortunate now that I'm at the age where I really don't have to work 100-hour weeks anymore unless I choose to. Therefore, my calendar is planned out beautifully, my days are planned out beautifully, and I really enjoy my life because I get a balance of work and family and fun all mixed in. That's part of the plan of building a successful business. And the thing is that that timeline of my hours that I put in won't necessarily show up on any of these figures, okay? So here we have the certainty between what we did versus what we're going to do. Is a sort of timeline of numbers. And of course, as fast as you put these numbers together, another day moves on, another week moves on, another month moves on. And so this whole thing is continually updated and checked in. And then you get the reality of, well, I said I was going to do this month. I was going to do £100,000 of sales, £1 million of sales, doesn't matter what it is. And then time passes and you didn't. We didn't hit our target. Well, the next question is why? What do we learn from all this? Why aren't we hitting target? We said a year ago, we said we'd achieve that result. Why didn't we achieve that result? A week ago, we said we'd do that. We didn't. A month ago, a quarter ago, whatever it is, you've set that target. You're either going to hit that target, but probably you're not going to hit target. You're either going to do more or you're going to do less. And it's quite fascinating the way our human brain works, is that, you know, at today, looking forward to the future, it's easy to be optimistic. Yeah, we'll hit that target, and you lay out the target. When we look back on the past results, we can justify and come up with all the reasons why we didn't, all the excuses that we didn't hit target. This didn't happen, we had a bit of bad luck, that didn't happen, etc. And so there's a gap between what you expect to achieve and what you actually achieve. And the bigger that gap, the bigger that messes with our anxious feelings and our depressive feelings all get muddled in there, because there's a gap. Okay, we start to lose the clarity and the certainty about our numbers. But if we can close that gap and get closer to target and understand why we hit target and why we don't hit target, then everything becomes a whole lot clearer for us and it energizes us. The third part of this triangle of truth is this component part up here. We can call this anything we want to, but we'll call it KPIs or SOPs. If you look at what we're describing here, over here, we've got the past. This is all your past data. Over here, we've got your future data. And here we've got today, the present. Excuse my writing, but this is today. This is the things that we do. In other words, this is the habits, this is the actions that we need to take today. We need to do these things today. So therefore, if we've set ourselves a sales target that we actually have thought about in great detail, and we believe that when we look back at the past activities that got us to our sales for the previous period, we can track this sort of graphical view of it and say, yeah, I think we can hit that target. Great. Then what have you got to do today to ensure you hit that target? Have you got to run your business more efficiently? Have you got to build in efficiency tools and processes? This is your SOPs, your standard operating procedures, so that you get higher quality about what you do, so that you can do the thing faster. Have you got to generate more business, generate more sales? How do you generate more sales? An awful lot of business owners do it on a little bit of hope and a prayer. They go off and find a few clients, those clients recommend a few clients, and somehow over the next few years they have always got some work. Okay, that's not really a strategy. I mean, it kind of works, but it's not really a strategy. But if you actually wanted to generally go out and bring in more business, you have to go and do the thing that brings in more business. The clue is, of course, is what did you do in the last couple of years that generated business? Quick question, the last 10 customers or the last 100 customers, whatever, just the last 10 customers that you brought into your business, where did they come from? How did you attract them? How did you get them into your business? What made them come to you? What made them buy? What process did you put in place to get those last 10 customers? Well, odds are if you do that again, you'll get another 10 customers. If that ties in with your plans going forward, you might need to do a bit more of that. The point is the actions and the activities that you do and the habits that you do every day up here are directly connected, ultimately, to your targets. Whether you believe it or not, if you've got a target of sales and you don't do these actions, probably you won't hit your sales target. But if you have a specific target that's broken down into annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily and hourly things to do, you can go that way. You go, shit, I need to do this now. But what it does is it forces you to focus on what's really important. Technology today with our phones and our emails and the internet means that it's very easy to be part of running a business and find yourself busy, but kind of not getting anywhere. And I see this a lot when particularly younger people starting up in business with all this tech, they're so busy setting up automations and making things happen automatically and creating PDFs and all the stuff that they're doing. And I'm like, well, how many customers you got? Well, none, because I want to finish this first. It's almost like I want to colour in my logo so that I can get some business. Well, that's not going to get you business. You've got to go and be active. You've got to go and pursue and chase and hunt down your customers. You've got to present yourself in such a way that you can demonstrate you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing. You've got to go make offers and you've got to go make sales. And you've got to do that every single day and not get caught up in the noise that's outside of this. So what this does here is it gives you a bit of commitment. Okay, and that commitment says, I'm going to chase X number of pounds worth of sales this period of time ahead of me. Ideally, you can chunk it from annually to quarterly to monthly to weekly. I tend to work on a quarterly basis in my own business. I know what my annual target is and I know what I'm chasing each quarter. Therefore, the number of activities that I do is based on a quarterly event. Okay, how many YouTube videos? This is relatively new to me at the moment, so I'm going to set myself a target to get some content out. How many people I've reached out to in a networking environment, how many letters I've sent out for cold outreach and things like that. So all these things, it's just a numeric value, because I know that if I did one YouTube video in the quarter, I might get lucky. But if I did 1,000, then I'm increasing my chances that this content is likely to work. But to do a large number of YouTube videos or a consistent number of YouTube videos means I've got to organize my time differently, which means I've got to do this every single day. I've got to focus on this particular project to enable me to get some content out. If I'm going off to do some networking and I pick up work from time to time from networking events, it's no good be going to one networking event this quarter, but I could go to 12. I could book myself out for 12 events and actually get in the car and go somewhere and be in a room with a bunch of people at 12 events. Now, if there's 20, 30 people at each one of those events, then I'm now reaching out to 200, 300, 400 people in a quarter and having as many conversations as possible. And if I conduct that in a structured way with a specific script and actually engage with somebody to get their details so that we can connect and follow up, then the chances are I can land a client. But unless I have that target of actions relating to the target of sales, then I could easily just be here messing around, achieving very little. So this gives you a bit of commitment. So we've got some certainty running along the bottom here because this is what we did and this is what we think we're going to do. And I'm pretty certain we could do that because you build that belief level by mapping it out. Okay, that gives you some commitment. And then, of course, if you achieve what you're setting out to achieve, you end up creating some confidence because the stuff that you do today is going to end up in your bookkeeping as real results, which then means that you can update your forecast and continually go round in that triangle of truth, because that's the point. It's telling you the truth. This tells you what you did. That's the truth. That's your results from the efforts that you put in. This is the efforts that you're doing. So if these results aren't good enough, if your business isn't good enough right now, maybe you've got to challenge what you do every day. That doesn't mean to say what you do is wrong. It's just that you might be having a choice of things to do and you're doing the wrong things. Okay? You need to do things to grow your business. So maybe you need to increase the effort that you need to do that. And an awful lot of people that I speak to don't have to do anything new. In fact, I'd rather you didn't. Okay? I always say to people, what did you do that worked? They went, I did this. Go do that again or do more of that. So if your way of collecting business is through posting content on social media and you've posted once a week for the last 10 weeks, what would happen if you posted once a day? Yeah, it means more work, it means more effort, fine, but we've got to set the target, the KPI, the key performance indicator, the thing that moves the needle is the thing that you do. This is the daily action that you need to do. And if you do that daily action, it works. It's going to build some confidence in what you're doing. And if you build some confidence and you look at what you did and you work at this target figure, you're going to build yourself even more certainty. So, triangle of truth. A lot of business owners don't study their past data. When I say study, I don't mean send it to your accountant and get your accountant to give you an annual report. Mostly a statutory set of accounts, they're not much use to you as a business owner. They're useful for the purpose of compliance and they're important from that perspective and they're right from that perspective. But unless you study the data behind them, it just tells you a specific report. What you need to do is study the data, study the sales and the costs against the calendar. Why did things spike up and why did things spike down? Okay, don't be surprised if your business is rubbish in the winter, that your winter sales are lower. Don't get upset about it, just know about it so that next winter you know that your sales are going to be lower. Well, that's an opportunity to do something else with that time. Maybe. Okay? Don't be surprised if when you look at your data in details, it is like a fiddler's elbow. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. What you then want to do is go back into your own calendar, into your own diary, into your own email sequence and life and communication. What was going on at that period of time? What was happening that meant that your business was all over the place? Sometimes you're so busy delivering service for the customers you've got that you're not generating new business, so that once you finish the job and you've been paid, you go, oh, I've got no business. Well, because when you're busy, you need to be marketing continually for the time when you finish that job. So there's another job to go to, some more work to go to. And all of this comes through here. And these graphical images are really useful. If you can see a graph, you can see a trend. And the reason that the trends and the graphs are there, because what they're doing is they're identifying your daily habits. If you do the same thing every day for a year, then the graph that you produce will show a trend. If you repeat that, odds are the graph will look the same in the future. So you have to change something up here to make your graph change. And so when we look at our bookkeeping, we've got to understand that. And as I say, most people get confused about their budgeting and forecast because they make it too complicated. That's an awful lot of it. You just get too complicated, okay? Which is why I think that when you do a budget and forecast, you should do it outside of your accounting system. It's nice to have it all linked together, and the accountants love it because they can make it all balanced to the penny, right? But the reality is sometimes just a spreadsheet or a whiteboard and a calculator and just thrash some figures out, because it's not the budget itself that's important. It's the thinking about it that's really important. And the more you think about it, the more you'll generate a report that's meaningful that you can then update and update and update. But it's the habits that you do every single day. That is my triangle of truth. Hopefully you will realize that if you focus on what you're doing today, have a little bit of clarity about the future and a little bit of understanding of the past, it takes you away from feeling anxious and worried about the future and gives you a bit of certainty about it, but also takes you away from the doom and gloom of the past and the depressive thoughts, because what's done is done. You can't change that. It's all about what to do next. I hope this is of value to you. If you now want to go and explore these 3 elements, there's going to be 3 more videos in this little series. Go watch them. Go listen to me yang on a bit more and see if I can help you further. See you soon.